The firewood was wet but still burned. You ever notice how the quietest places are the ones where your thoughts get the loudest? It was mid-September, just past peak season. I was headed up into the northern Cascades east of Ross Lake, where the map thins out and the Wi-Fi dies. I'd found the spot on a Reddit thread about hidden camping gems. Not even the All Trails people had reviewed it, which is why I picked it. I needed the silence. No phones, no pings, just me, my REI one-man tent, and a second-hand Yeti cooler stuffed with beef jerky, Miller Lite, and the kind of freeze-dried meals that smell like dog food but taste like comfort when you're starving. The trail was barely marked, just a thin boot path and some old pink flagging tape. I hiked in for 6 hours. Trees grew so tight together you had to turn sideways at times. No sign of anyone, no distant hum of cars, just the sound of my own breathing and the occasional snap of something moving through brush that wasn't me. I made camp near a river bend, about 50 feet off a gravel clearing. Firewood was damp as hell, but I still managed to get a weak flame going using dryer lint and half a bottle of hand sanitizer. I was proud of that. Dumb proud. Like a toddler learning to tie their shoes. The first weird thing happened around midnight. I woke up to the sound of twigs cracking. Not the gentle pop of something falling from a tree. This was movement. Deliberate. Measured. 2 steps. Pause. Then another. It circled halfway around my tent, then stopped. I didn't move. I just lay there, holding my breath like an idiot. My brain did that dumb thing where it tries to logic the fear out of you. Probably a deer, could be a raccoon, maybe wind. Then I heard it. A whistle. Low. 2 notes. Like someone testing if you're awake. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. Next morning, nothing seemed out of place. No tracks, no disturbed dirt. I told myself I'd imagined it. Lack of sleep. I'd pushed too hard on the hike. That was all. Until I found the note, folded under a small stone by my tent flap. A piece of torn brown grocery bag. 5 words scrawled in what looked like charcoal. Don't light fires out here. No name, no explanation. My stomach dropped, but I forced a chuckle like it was some weird backwoods hiker etiquette. Maybe a fire ban thing. I checked the regulations again. No fire ban, nothing. Still, I packed my cooler and gear back into the tent like I was going to leave. But I didn't. Pride or stupidity, I stayed. Night 2, I didn't light a fire. Ate my cold noodles in silence, sitting inside the tent with the flap zipped shut. Every sound was louder now. The forest wasn't peaceful anymore, it was listening. Then, right after midnight again, footsteps. Closer this time. Crunching leaves. No whistle this time. Just whispering. Low. Unintelligible. But human. I swear on everything. I heard someone say my name. My actual name. And then, breathing. Right outside the tent wall. I never knew terror could make you sweat through a sleeping bag. That was when the zipper moved. Just a little. Just enough to make me whimper out loud like a scared child. I yelled, "I'm armed." I wasn't. The sound stopped. Silence swallowed the woods again. I didn't unzip the flap until dawn. And when I did, there was something waiting. A second note. Same handwriting. That's strike 2. I should have left right then. I know that now. Any sane person would have packed their gear and bolted at sunrise. But I didn't. Maybe it was denial. Maybe I didn't want to believe someone was out there, fucking with me. I told myself it was a prank, that some local nutjob was just trying to scare off out-of-towners. I was wrong. That morning, I searched the area around my tent. Still no tracks, just dew-covered pine needles and soft moss that didn't hold impressions well. Whoever it was, if it was someone, they knew the terrain. They knew how to move without leaving signs. I found one thing though, a tuft of blonde hair tied to a tree branch. Human hair, braided, like a little trophy. I stared at it way too long, my stomach twisted. I finally pulled it down and tossed it into the river. After that, I told myself again, one more night. Just one. I had food, my water purifier, and my hiking poles. I'd sleep with a knife in my bag. And yeah, I'd keep the bear spray on my chest like a badge of honor. Paranoia, maybe, but this didn't feel like some typical backwoods weirdness anymore. This felt personal. I didn't light a fire that night. Didn't eat. I just sat there, back against a fallen log, scanning the trees until the sun dipped. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Hours, maybe. Every little rustle sent my adrenaline spiking. Every snap of a twig was someone coming for me. Sometime past midnight, I must have dozed off. I woke to something brushing the side of the tent. I didn't move. My fingers were wrapped around the handle of my knife, white-knuckled and shaking. I heard it again, breathing, long, deliberate breaths, like someone was savoring the moment, not rushing, not afraid of being caught. I held my breath until I thought my lungs would burst. Then I heard the zipper again, real slow, like last night. Only this time it zipped up, not down. Then silence. I waited until dawn again. This time I didn't find a note. I found something worse. On the opposite side of the tent, the side I didn't sleep near, someone had drawn something in the dirt. A smiley face. Not some cutesy cartoon. Just 2 dots and a line, scratched in with a stick. But there was something wrong about it. The eyes were gouged in deep, almost like whoever made it was angry. The smile curved up too far, past where lips should stop. It was wrong. Childish. Like something drawn by someone who doesn't understand what human faces actually look like. I stared at that face for a long time. I packed my gear in silence. I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I didn't even piss. I just stuffed everything into my pack, folded the tent like it owed me money, and started hiking. I didn't make it far. About 2 hours down the trail, I reached a small clearing where the path splits. One way leads back toward the old fire road I came in on. The other, it just kind of disappears into overgrowth and brush. Someone had left something in the middle of the fork. My Yeti cooler. The one I'd packed into my tent last night. It was just sitting there, scented, clean, unopened. Like it had never been touched, except it wasn't cold anymore, and inside wasn't food. It was full of photographs, dozens, maybe 100, all printed, old school on glossy paper, all of me, sleeping, hiking, setting up camp, zipping my tent, pictures I never took. Some were from this trip. Some weren't. There was one that made me drop the cooler. A picture of me, age 15, sitting in my childhood bedroom, headphones on, gaming on my laptop, taken through the goddamn window and written across the photo in the same black scrawl as the notes. I've always liked watching you. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember walking away from the cooler or which direction I took. All I remember is the blood pounding in my ears and the word photos looping in my brain like a broken record. Someone had been watching me, not just now, for years, through windows, in campsites, on nights I thought I was alone. That wasn't just stalking, that was obsession. I hiked, fast, reckless. My calves screamed and my pack felt like a cinder block. I didn't care. I just wanted out. My plan was to retrace the route back to where the Firewood crossed the dry riverbed, maybe 4 miles. That led to the turnout where my car was parked. Only the Firewood wasn't there. I walked the trail twice over. Same mossy trees, same broken signpost. But the path that led back to my car, gone. Or maybe hidden. I don't know how long I stood there, heart hammering, staring into what should have been my escape route. But it wasn't there. Just a thick wall of undergrowth, like someone had buried the trail overnight. That's when I heard it again, the whistle, 2 notes. But this time it wasn't far, it was behind me. I turned, knife drawn, but the woods were empty. Still, except for a new detail. Hanging from a branch about 10 feet away, one of my socks. Damp, rolled, hanging like a Christmas ornament. I didn't put it there. I hadn't even lost a sock. I ran. I didn't even pick a direction. I just ran. Branches whipped my arms. My shins got sliced on underbrush. I didn't care. I just had to get away from whoever that was, whatever they wanted. Eventually I hit a steep incline, lost my footing and tumbled. Hard. Hit my head on something. I don't remember blacking out. Just remember blinking and realizing the sky had changed color. Twilight. I'd lost hours. When I tried to move, my right ankle screamed. I couldn't walk. Couldn't stand. I'd rolled it. Maybe worse. So I crawled, dragged myself toward the base of a tree and slumped there, sweating and shaking. I pulled out my phone. Still no service. 4% battery. Useless. And that's when I noticed something in the bark. Carvings. All over the tree. Faint but unmistakable. Names, dozens of them. First names, dates. Some recent, some old. One from 2019. One from April this year. Then mine. My name. With today's date underneath. The bark was still wet. My stomach twisted so hard I dry heaved. Someone knew I'd be here. Someone had carved my name before I got here. That's when I heard a twig snap. Close. I looked up. And that's when I saw him. 10 feet away, standing behind a split tree trunk. Barely visible. Motionless. Wearing a faded red hoodie, sleeves shredded at the cuffs. Jeans stained dark at the knees. Face. Wrong. Pale but smeared with something. Mud. Ash. No expression. Just standing there, arms loose at his sides. Watching. Then he raised one hand and showed me what he was holding. My knife. I hadn't even noticed I'd dropped it. He didn't speak. He just turned and walked back into the woods. like he knew I couldn't follow. I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have. Shock does that, I think. When I opened my eyes again, it was pitch black. Not dark, black, like the woods had swallowed the moon whole. Everything was dead silent. No wind, no insects, just the sound of my own ragged breath, shallow and fast, like I was trying to hide from the dark itself. My ankle throbbed, worse than before. I tried to shift it and felt something pop. A wave of nausea slammed me so hard I had to bite the inside of my cheek not to scream. I fumbled for my headlamp. Dead. I checked my phone. 1%. I turned it on for light, just for a second, and froze. There was something on my lap. A piece of cloth. Not mine. It was folded, perfectly square. When I picked it up, it fell open. A baby bib. Old, crusted, stained. Written on it in black Sharpie was a single word. Quiet. I threw it. Hard. As if that would change anything. It didn't. Because a few seconds later, from maybe 15 feet away, I heard breathing. Not panicked, not tired, calm. And then a voice, low, sing-song, a mock whisper. Why'd you scream? I didn't. I swear I didn't scream. But that voice, it sounded like it had been waiting, like it was proud, like it had been rehearsing that line for hours. I started crying, not loud, just tears leaking out of me while I tried to stay absolutely still. And then the voice again, a little closer. You weren't supposed to cry yet. My throat seized. I couldn't even speak. Something moved in the dark. I could feel it. Like static in the air. Like the woods had turned into a room, and someone else had just entered it. Then silence again. Not even breathing this time. I didn't sleep after that. I sat there in the dirt, ankle useless, waiting for the sun like a man waiting for a pardon that might not come. When the sky finally lightened, just enough to see the outlines of the trees, I spotted it. A trail. Not the trail, but a trail. Fresh. Clear. Like it had just been carved through the woods for me. Wide enough for one person to walk through. The dirt looked newly turned, and in the middle of the path, right at the start, was a thermos. My thermos. I hadn't seen it in 2 days. I didn't want to check it, but I had to. I unscrewed the top with trembling hands. Inside was warm coffee, still steaming, and floating on top, resting gently on the surface like a boat, was a Polaroid photo. It was me, right now, sleeping against the tree, head leaned sideways, bib on my lap. This photo had been taken while I was unconscious, while he was standing over me. I screamed then. I screamed so loud I could feel it echo in my ribs. Birds scattered. A deer burst from the brush. But nobody came, because I was still too far from anywhere, still alone, still in his woods. I drank the coffee. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me thought it was a peace offering, or maybe I was just too tired to care if it was poisoned. But it wasn't. It was actually good, familiar, heated in my camping mug. He'd used my stuff, sat down with it, poured it, left it warm like he wanted me to know just how close he'd been. Again, That path he left? I followed it. I didn't have a choice. The woods had gone all wrong, like they'd folded in on themselves. I didn't recognize anything anymore. Every tree looked like the last. Every direction felt like a circle. But that trail, that was deliberate, marked with little trinkets I didn't want to see. My left hiking boot, laces tied in a perfect bow. My broken flashlight, now fixed and switched on, blinking in the dirt like a lost animal. One of my protein bar wrappers, folded into an origami bird. He was leading me, somewhere. It was midday, I think, when I saw the cabin. I know how that sounds. A cabin. It's the horror cliché, right? Remote, isolated, off-grid. But this wasn't like that. It wasn't abandoned. It wasn't rotted. It was lived in. Neat. The wood was stained dark, the roof covered in moss. Smoke curled from a thin metal chimney. Someone had swept the porch. A pair of boots sat outside like the person inside had manners. I should have run, or hid. But I was limping, half-starved, out of water, and I couldn't keep going. I couldn't think anymore. So I went up the steps and knocked, 3 times, and waited. The door opened, and there he was, not hiding anymore, not lurking in the shadows or watching from the trees, just a man, mid-40s maybe, pale, thin, hair slicked back like it was the 1960s, wearing clean clothes, flannel shirt, faded jeans, no shoes, no mask, no weapon. He looked like someone's uncle. He smiled, not wide, not creepy, just polite, and said, "Took you long enough." I didn't answer. I couldn't. He stepped aside. "You can come in, or not. You're already here. Doesn't really matter anymore." I stepped in. Inside it was clean, rustic. A small wood stove, shelves of canned food, a mattress on the floor, photos on the walls, all Polaroids, all of me, sleeping, laughing, camping, at gas stations, grocery stores, me in high school, me last year, even one of me at the DMV. "You've been watching me," I finally said, voice cracked and useless. He nodded. "Everyone watches someone." I wanted to lunge, to scream, but I couldn't move. He walked to the stove and stirred something. Chili, I think. The smell was real, meaty, inviting. He poured a bowl and handed it to me. "Eat. You'll need your strength." I didn't ask what for. I didn't want to know. But I ate. Because it was hot. Because I was weak. Because some part of me thought if I just played along, I'd survive. That's when he sat down across from me, took out a small knife, a pocket knife, not even threatening, and set it gently on the table. "I want to tell you something," he said. "Something you won't believe. But I'm going to tell you anyway." I said nothing. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. "You're not the first." He let that sit. They all come here eventually, one way or another. The quiet ones. The ones who think they can escape for a weekend, unplug, be alone. He smiled just a little. "You're easier to find than you think." Then he pointed to the window. I turned. Out there in the clearing were shapes, 10, maybe 15, all wearing backpacks, all just standing, not moving, not speaking, like they were waiting, like they had all been waiting. And I realized he didn't just watch me, he collected me and others like me. And the worst part, they weren't restrained, they weren't chained, they stayed. I don't remember dropping the bowl. I just remember the heat on my thigh as the chili spilled, and how I didn't even flinch, because I couldn't stop staring out the window. They were all standing there, still, like mannequins in the woods. Same dead posture, same blank stares, all ages, some older, some younger. And I swear to God, one of them was wearing a Grand Teton t-shirt, the kind they only sell at the official visitors center. He saw me looking. He smiled, then said, "Takes a few days, sometimes weeks, but they all understand eventually." He gestured to the knife on the table. "You're free to leave, of course. Walk out right now if you want." I stared at it, not moving. "But you already know what happens if you do. You've seen what's out there. You've felt it watching you. That's the forest now. That's what it becomes when it knows you don't belong." I couldn't stop shaking. "You either join it," he whispered, "or you feed it." I asked finally, my voice barely a breath, "What are they waiting for?" He smiled. "You, just you." I don't remember standing. I don't remember picking up the knife. But I do remember the door creaking as I opened it and stepped out into the clearing. And they moved. All of them. One step forward, in sync, silent, then still again. I backed up. They followed. A step and another. No one spoke, not even me, until I screamed. Something snapped. I ran, limping, wild, stupid. But I ran. Through the brush, down some trail I'd never seen, straight into branches that clawed my face open. I didn't care. I just kept going. I don't know how long I ran. Eventually the forest gave way to a road, an actual paved road, and a car, parked, engine off, empty, not mine. But I opened the door, got in, locked it, sat there sobbing. Then the dome light flickered, and I saw it. In the rearview mirror, the photo, taped there, a Polaroid. Me, sitting in this exact seat, in this exact car, with today's date on the bottom, and below that, scribbled in charcoal, "You burned. That's all that matters." I made it out. I think. I found a ranger station 20 miles later. Or maybe they found me. They asked a lot of questions. I didn't answer most of them. Because how do you explain what you can't name? I don't go outside anymore. Not alone, not near trees. And when I hear a whistle, 2 notes, low and patient, I don't look to see where it's coming from. I already know. He's still watching. He always was. And the worst part, sometimes, when it's quiet enough, I kind of miss it. Why were their eyes watching us in the dark? I've told this story only once, and even then, I was blackout drunk and shaking like hell. I still don't know if I believe what happened, but I remember every detail like it's etched into my skull with a knife. It was August 2021. My buddy Darren and I had this plan to do a week-long backcountry loop through the Wind River Range in Wyoming, a rugged, lesser-trekked spine of the Rockies. We'd done Shenandoah and parts of the PCT before, but this was different. Remote, dangerous if you slipped up, zero cell service, real wild. We loaded up our gear, REI tents, a Yeti cooler, jet boils, our maps, spare canisters, the whole thing. I remember stopping at a Walmart near Pinedale, grabbing last-minute snacks, trail mix, beef jerky, and a cheap bottle of bourbon we figured we'd crack open on the last night. The first couple of days were fine, gorgeous even. Pine forests stretching endlessly, peaks slicing up the sky, and icy streams you could drink straight from. We didn't see another soul. It felt like we'd stepped off the edge of the world. But then, things shifted. Slightly. Subtly. On day 4, around dusk, we stumbled on this old fire ring off a barely there spur trail near a glacial lake. Darren wanted to keep going. He's always been a push hard until you drop type. But I felt off. Like watched. I know how it sounds. I told him it was just the altitude, the isolation playing tricks. We set up anyway. Tents about 15 feet apart, fire going, that eerie orange light flickering across the trees. We were laughing, sipping some bourbon, trying to outdo each other with ghost stories. Dumb, I know. Then we noticed it. A third voice, laughing, faint but close. We froze. Darren said, "Dude, was that?" I nodded. "Probably just echo," I muttered. But it wasn't. It was different. Softer, almost playful. We called out, "Hello? Anybody there?" Silence. The woods swallowed our voices whole. Then the weirdest thing, when I turned back, my pack was gone. Gone. I was right next to it. We tore the area apart with our headlamps, even checked the lake shoreline thinking maybe it slid. Nothing. Like it had been plucked clean out of reality. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes I'd hear something. Crunching leaves, soft breathing, whispering. Not wind, not animals. Something deliberate. Darren snored like a freight train, totally unbothered. Bastard always could sleep through a hurricane. I kept gripping my multi-tool like it had saved me from whatever was out there. At 2:47 a.m., I remember the exact time because I checked my Garmin. I saw it. Eyes. Reflective, low to the ground, maybe 20 feet away, right outside Darren's tent. Not animal eyes, too wide set, too human. They didn't blink, just stared. I whispered Darren's name. No response. I crawled over, clutching the multi-tool, barely breathing. When I unzipped his tent, slowly, silently, he wasn't inside. Just his sleeping bag, empty. That's when the whispering started again. Louder this time, circling me. I didn't move. Couldn't. Something passed by behind the tent. 2 feet. Heavy, slow, deliberate. Then, as if on cue, Darren screamed. Not just scared. Terror. Pure animal panic. A few hundred feet up the ridge. I bolted out, barefoot, no flashlight. Just the moonlight and the sound of that scream, cutting off mid-breath. I stopped running when I saw it. Something was crouched near a tree, low, too low for any person. I swear to God it smiled at me, This slow, awful grin, teeth like cracked porcelain, and then it melted backward into the trees like smoke. I didn't move. I just stood there until dawn. Darren was gone. Gone. Not a footprint. Not a scrap of clothing. Just that stupid bourbon bottle placed upright in the center of the fire pit with a tuft of his hair tied around its neck with a shoelace. I didn't go back to the tent. Couldn't. I sat by the lake for maybe 2 hours, knees to my chest, trying not to puke. The sun came up slow, barely burning through the cold morning fog. The trees didn't look beautiful anymore. They looked like sentinels, watching. At first light, I started searching, calling Darren's name. My voice cracked like glass. I checked the ridge, checked down by the water. I even waded waist deep into that glacial lake, thinking maybe he fell in. Nothing. Not a single track, except one thing. Near a patch of flattened grass about 200 yards from the tents, I found something shiny buried in the dirt. Darren's Fitbit. Still working, still tracking. Last steps recorded, 2:46 a.m. And then nothing. Exactly 1 minute before I saw those eyes. I should have packed up right then, hiked out, but I couldn't leave him. I just couldn't. That's the thing they don't tell you about the wilderness. When something goes wrong, really wrong, the human brain refuses to let go of hope, even when it knows. I left my pack, took only essentials: knife, whistle, flashlight, GPS, spare spray. Followed the tree line northwest where I thought I'd heard the scream. Terrain got gnarly. Loose rocks, thorny underbrush. Found a crushed protein bar wrapper, Cliff Bar, chocolate almond fudge. Darren's favorite. Then I started seeing them. Little things, wrong things. A pair of Merrill boots nailed into a tree trunk 6 feet up, toes pointed down. Still laced. Like someone had climbed into them and vanished. A Ziploc bag of trail mix hanging from a branch full, untouched. But something had carved a smiley face into the bark right beside it. Big, wide smile. No eyes. A Polaroid nailed to a stump. Blurry shot of 2 people, arms around each other. Not Darren and me. Strangers. But the background. That exact lake. Same spot. The fire ring was visible. Dates scribbled on the back. August 13th, 2016. I kept going. My head was a wasp nest. Every sound felt like it was moving toward me. Birds weren't chirping. Not anymore. It was too quiet. Around midday, I reached this natural clearing. Oval-shaped. Too clean. No underbrush. Grass was short, trimmed almost. In the center, a camping chair, one of those cheap foldables from Costco, facing away from me. I knew I shouldn't go closer. Every instinct said stop. But I walked. Slowly. Crouched. Quiet. When I got within 5 feet, I realized there was someone sitting in it. Still. Not moving. It was a woman. Pale skin. Dirt-streaked eggs. Hair in thick, matted braids. Wearing layers of ragged flannel, like she hadn't changed in weeks, maybe months. And she was smiling. Not at me. Just smiling. I whispered, "Hey, are you okay?" She didn't flinch, didn't blink. I stepped closer. "Do you need help?" Then she spoke, and I swear on everything, her voice wasn't a whisper, it was like a laugh, trying to be a whisper. He's inside now. I froze. What? She turned her head slowly toward me, eyes glassy, unfocused, like she wasn't really there. She said it again. He's inside now. Then she reached down, picked something up, and held it out. It was Darren's knife, his name still etched on the hilt. I took it. My hand was shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. That's when she whispered one more thing. He watched too long, so now he listens. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. I backed away, tripped over a root, and when I got up, she was gone, just gone. The chair was still there, but no woman, no tracks, no sound. It took everything in me not to scream. I turned back toward camp, desperate, half running. When I got back to the lake, my tent was torn open, and my pack, gone, except the GPS. Sitting upright, blinking, and next to it, written in small stones on the ground, was one word: stay. I didn't stay. Hell no. I stared at those rocks for maybe 30 seconds before I kicked them as hard as I could, sending stones flying into the underbrush. Stay. Like it was a command. Like whoever, whatever, left it thought I'd just sit down and wait like some obedient dog. Screw that. But the second I turned to leave, I realized what they'd done. The trail, the one we'd taken up to the lake, it was gone. I don't mean I couldn't find it. I mean it was gone. Like the forest had grown back overnight. The markers we carved on tree bark disappeared. Even the rock stacks Darren had made, knocked over or never there to begin with. That was the first time I felt real fear. Not just scared, like I might actually lose my mind. I spun around, eyes darting. Trees. Just trees. Silent. Watching. I still had the GPS, thank God. I pulled it out, opened the map, but something was off. The waypoint I dropped at the lake, it was gone. Only blank coordinates. The screen flickered, then glitched, flashing strange icons I'd never seen before, like corrupted files or symbols. I tried not to panic, told myself I just had to head east. Eventually I'd hit the creek, or the ridgeline, or something. I hiked for hours. No landmarks, no wildlife, just that heavy, pressing silence. You ever feel like the trees are too close? Like they're leaning in? That's how it felt. And then came the voices. Not full sentences, just fragments, echoes. Don't look. He's right there. Keep smiling. I started sprinting. Branches cut my arms, slapped my face. I didn't care. Then I hit something. Not a tree, not a rock, a wall. Wooden, old, like logs stacked horizontally. I backed up, looked. It was a cabin, just standing there. No windows, just a door, slightly open. I don't know why, but my legs moved on their own, like I had to see, like some part of me already knew what was inside. The cabin was empty. dirt floor, one chair, and a backpack, my backpack, in the corner. I ran to it, ripped it open. Everything was there, all my gear. But sitting on top like a trophy was something I hadn't packed. A disposable camera. One of those Kodak ones you get at Walgreens. I picked it up. It was used. The little counter said 0. Someone had taken every shot. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I ripped the back open. No film. Instead, folded inside was a note, in Darren's handwriting. Don't believe anything it says. I dropped the camera. My stomach flipped. He was alive, or had been. But what was it? That's when I heard the dragging sound, from behind the cabin, slow, gravelly, wet. I didn't think. I bolted. Crashed through the door, into the woods, tearing through brush. I ran until my lungs screamed, until blood dripped from my arms and face. Finally, I saw it. A road. Gravel. Narrow. But real. I collapsed onto it, sobbing, laughing like a lunatic. I'd made it. But then, I saw something lying on the road ahead. A note, pinned under a rock. Just 5 words written in mud. You're almost back. Turn around. And behind me, I heard breathing. I didn't turn around. Not at first, I couldn't move. I was crouched on that gravel road, shaking so hard my teeth clacked. That note. It wasn't just some prank. The way it was pinned, like someone knew exactly where I'd come out of the woods, like they were waiting, watching. And the breathing behind me, it wasn't panicked. It wasn't human. It was slow, steady, like someone relaxing. I did something stupid. I whispered, "Darren?" It stopped. Not the breathing. That sound kept going, calm and rhythmic. But the wind, the insects, everything else. The whole forest fell dead silent, like nature itself was holding its breath. Then I heard something that made my blood run cold. It mimicked my voice. "Darren?" It didn't say anything else, just repeated it. But wrong. Like it was trying to understand how to say it. Like a parrot that didn't understand language. The inflection was just off. "Darren." Long, drawn out. I turned around. I shouldn't have. There was a figure standing 10 feet behind me on the edge of the tree line. Not walking, not moving, just standing. It was wearing Darren's jacket, but it wasn't Darren. The face was too long, the limbs slightly crooked like a puppet held by the wrong strings. The mouth stretched into this awful slack grin, eyes wide, unblinking, and still, breathing slow and deep, like it wasn't even tired. I stumbled backward down the road, never turning my back, my mind screaming to move faster, but my legs betraying me. They didn't believe me. Nobody ever does. Not the cops, not the doctors, not even Darren's sister. And she wanted to. God, she wanted to. But when you tell people your best friend disappeared in the woods and something took his place, mimicked his voice, wore his clothes, they look at you like you need a padded room and a lifetime prescription. I tried to show them the backpack, the picture. They told me it wasn't possible. The fabric was outdated, seam stitched in a style REI hadn't used in 20 years. The photo paper? Manufactured in the early 2000s. They verified that. Said maybe it was some elaborate prank or a weird coincidence. But the handwriting on the back, it was mine. Even I couldn't explain it. The note said, "Don't come back. You won't leave twice." That night in the hospital, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing that voice, my own voice, saying Darren's name over and over, mocking it, testing it, like the forest itself was still playing with me. I was discharged the next morning. They said I was stable, but they gave me a referral to a trauma counsellor just in case. They thought I was hallucinating, sleep deprived, classic case of outdoor psychosis. Happens to solo hikers, they said. But I wasn't solo. And Darren didn't just wander off. I went back to my apartment. Couldn't eat. Couldn't shower. I just stared at my phone, waiting for it to ring, hoping it would be him. That this was all some sick, drawn-out joke. It never rang. A week passed, then 2. The official missing persons case went cold. No leads, no sightings. Until I got an envelope in the mail, no return address, no stamp, just left at my door. Inside was a USB drive. That was it. I plugged it into my laptop, even though every part of me said not to, and found one file. Listen this MP3. It was audio, rough, crackly, like a field recording. I pressed play. For the first 10 seconds it was just static. Then came footsteps, slow, crunching gravel. Then breathing. That same slow, deliberate breathing. Then my voice, or what sounded like me, saying, "Darren," followed by silence. Then laughter, low, wet, guttural, like someone gargling glass. And then Darren's voice, weak, broken. He whispered, "Please. It won't let me die." I slammed the laptop shut, threw the drive across the room. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't stand. It wasn't over. I knew that now. I'd left that place, but it hadn't let go. Later that night, I took a walk just to clear my head. Around 3 a.m., I ended up sitting on the curb near the park 2 blocks from my place. That's when I saw them. Boot prints, fresh ones, deep, leading from the sidewalk into the grass. I followed them. They led straight to a bench. And on that bench, a single Polaroid. This one of me sitting in that exact spot. In the background, barely visible, was a face peeking from behind a tree, long, pale, grinning. I turned and ran home. Didn't stop, didn't sleep. I taped every vent, every window, barricaded the door, turned every light on. But the next morning, I found another photo. Inside my kitchen. Me, sleeping. A hand reaching toward my face. It's still watching. And I don't think I ever really left those woods. I haven't left my apartment in 3 weeks. I piss in bottles. I eat whatever's sealed and boxed. My phone stays off. The blinds are duct-taped shut. I don't own mirrors anymore. Can't look at myself. Not without wondering if it's me looking back. Because the last time I did, I saw it blink. Out of sync. Since that photo showed up on my kitchen table, I found 6 more, always of me, always impossibly recent, always showing something just outside the frame, a hand, a shoulder, a pair of eyes reflecting light. I tried throwing them away. They come back. One morning, I found one under my tongue. That's when I started recording everything. I bought an old school cassette recorder from a pawn shop. Digital stuff glitches when it gets close. I keep a running log, time stamps, details, anything that might prove I'm still me. But some days, I'm not sure. I wake up with dirt under my nails, pine needles in my sheets. Once I found a scrap of flannel, Darren's flannel, in my trash. No idea how it got there. I don't sleep anymore. I can't. Every time I do, I see that lake, that stupid campfire, that chair, and someone watching me from the tree line. One night I heard my door unlock. Click. I sat frozen with my knife clutched in one hand, the recorder in the other. Nothing came in, but when I checked the hallway the next morning, there were footprints, bare feet, mud, twigs, leading from my front door to the closet. I didn't open it, still haven't. I can hear breathing inside, slow, calm, the same as before. I called the cops once, told them someone was stalking me. They came. They checked the place, said it was clean. I asked if they checked the closet. They said, "What closet?" I didn't argue. I just nodded and closed the door behind them. As they left, I saw it. One of the officers, he smiled at me, too wide, no eyes. I stopped trying after that. I know what's happening now. I think it took Darren, wore him, played with me. But I think it wants more than that now. It wants to be me. And if that thing ever finishes learning, if it ever gets all the way in, no one will know. It won't need a mask. It won't need the woods. It'll just walk out into the world wearing my skin, my voice, my laugh. And no one will notice, because it studied, because it watched, because it listened. And if you ever go camping, if you ever find yourself alone out there, even for a second, and you hear a voice calling your name that sounds almost right but not quite, don't answer. Whatever you do, don't answer. Because sometimes the woods follow you home, and sometimes they bring him with them.